Last week when we left off, Flight 370 had just gone missing over a month ago with next to no idea as to where her final resting place may be, apart from a small arc in the southern Indian Ocean. After the plane was assumed to have crashed, authorities began looking into something called an underwater locator beacon. This is exactly what it sounds like, a small device attached to the plane's flight recorder that emits a signal detectable up to 20,000 feet below the ocean's surface. And its purpose is to help salvage crews find what they're looking for. These beacons only have a battery life of roughly 40 days before the signal peters out. As the battery lays slowly dying, multiple signals with similar frequencies to that of what the beacon emits were detected near them. Over the coming weeks, as the battery became weaker and weaker, an autonomous submersible vehicle searched the ocean floor, only for it too to come up empty-handed. Prepare to hear that a lot throughout the rest of this episode. If you're wondering what an autonomous submersible vehicle is, it essentially equates to a fancy and expensive, technical underwater drone. After the beacon's battery would have died, authorities soon realized that if the moment of impact with the ocean's surface was hard enough, it may have been detected by hydrophones scattered across the southern Indian Ocean. A hydrophone, for those of you who may not know, is a high-tech underwater microphone used for detecting geological activity. This is what they heard. That may have been hard for some of you to hear, but in each recording, at the same time, there was a spike in volume that was consistent with that of a plane crash. However, while the time and volume were consistent with the plane crash, the estimated location was deemed too implausible and the idea was scrapped as well. Over 16 months later, on July 29th, 2015, Flight 370 was one of the farthest things from the public's mind as they had moved on to the next big tragedy. A small group of people cleaning up trash on the small island of Reunion, when they noticed a large white metal thing roughly 7 feet long and covered in barnacles. After turning it into local authorities, the object was identified as the right flaperon of a Boeing 777. A flaperon, for those of you that may not know, is part of a plane's wing that flaps up and down like the name suggests to help stabilize the plane during low speed and low altitude flying. After further investigation into the mysterious flaperon, the serial numbers later confirmed that it was part of the now infamous Boeing 77 Flight 370. After even more investigation, the flaperon's legitimacy was further validated when compared to simulations of debris dispersal patterns that are affected by oceanic drift. This also validates the theory of 370's crash site being somewhere along that arc in the southern Indian Ocean. The discovery of this flaperon prompted searches of several beaches of the nearby islands for other pieces of debris that could have washed up. This search yielded 31 additional pieces of debris. Only 11 of them could have been confirmed, while the others ranged from highly likely to unidentifiable. One of the most prominent early theories as to what happened to Flight 370 is that a fire broke out on board, similar to what happened to a FedEx plane at 3:51 a.m. on August 7, 2004. The FedEx fire sparked from a pallet of lithium-ion batteries that it was carrying, similar to Flight 370 that was also carrying a large pallet of lithium-ion batteries. However, the only evidence that was found on the debris was 3 small, cigarette-sized burn marks on one of the unidentifiable objects. However, another piece of evidence that supports this theory is the plane's early U-turn that signaled an emergency landing, but thing is, there was never an attempt made, and the plane remained aloft for another 6 hours before it finally crashed. The discovery of all this debris prompted the continuation of the underwater search aided by ocean displacement simulations until it was later suspended on January 17, 2017, having still not found any evidence of the missing airliner. By the time it was suspended, over 46,000 square miles of ocean floor had been searched. Shortly after, in 2018, a private American company named Ocean Infinity took over the search until another year later, when they suspended it after also coming up empty-handed. In the meantime, while the companies were still searching the ocean, there was a silent investigation going on in the background into the pilots Zahari Ahmad Shah and Fareed Hamid. When a plane goes AWOL, everyone's first and worst fear is a hijacking, such as what happened in March of 1970, when a group of Japanese students hijacked Japan Airlines Flight 351 with a mix of weapons ranging from samurai swords to handguns to homemade pipe bombs, all in hopes of redirecting the plane to Cuba, where they would then train under Fidel Castro to start a communist uprising in their native country of Japan. This was a particular worry when 2 days after the plane went missing, 2 passengers, possibly 4 depending on where you look. The passengers Christian Kozel and Luigi Maraldi were found to be traveling under stolen passports. This discovery prompted an investigation into the identity of the 2 men, only to find that they were most likely just trying to seek asylum when they boarded Flight 370. The next people on the list of perpetrating a hijacking were none other than the pilots themselves. This theory came about when both sat phone calls were ignored by the cockpit, as well as the plane's maneuvers through the final hours of its flight time. The flight's initial U-turn, right bank near the island of Penang, and final left turn towards the southern Indian Ocean were all too intricate to have been done by an autopilot. All of this demonstrating that the person who hijacked the plane would have had at least a working knowledge of how a Boeing 77 operates. The motives people have proposed are spotty at best. The background is that upon the search of 56-year-old pilot Zahari Ahmad Shah's home, yielded a flight simulator that had several pre-recorded paths that ended in the southern Indian Ocean. And that's where I'm going to have to end it with for today. I'm sorry that this took so long to get out. I said 4, and this is probably going to go up around 8. I had a lot of issues with technical problems, so thank you for sitting with me. And again, this episode was shorter, but I wanted to leave you guys on a cliffhanger for next week.